Welcome to Money Talks. I'm Sarah, and this is episode number 18. In this deep dive, we're exploring the struggles, successes, and game-changing lessons from entrepreneurs who turned every no into a yes. Tune in to learn how you can do the same. And with me, as always, is Alex. Hey, Alex.
Hey, Sarah. Good to be here.
So today, we're diving into the really inspiring story of Wendy Kopp and the huge entrepreneurial and, personal challenges she faced creating Teach for America and then Teach for All.
Yeah, it's quite a story.
It really is a fascinating look at how one person with a powerful idea just navigated incredible odds, to build this global movement. So let's start right at the beginning. What kicked this whole journey off for Wendy Kopp?
Well, we really started with a question, a big one that she was grappling with. This is back when she was a senior at Princeton in 1989. And she was really wrestling with, how can we make sure every single child gets a quality education? And it wasn't just like a passing thought. It became the core of her senior thesis.
Yeah.
That thesis actually laid the groundwork for what became Teach for America. Right. And it's funny looking back now because Teach for America is such a huge thing. But her initial idea faced a lot of pushback, didn't it?
Oh, definitely. Significant skepticism.
The thinking was that top college grads just wouldn't want to teach in under-resourced schools.
Exactly. The common wisdom was, these really talented graduates, they'll go for the high-paying corporate jobs, the traditional routes. But Kopp, she had this deep conviction, this belief that there was this untapped pool of young people who really did want to make a difference.
And she was right.
She was absolutely right. That first group, the first cohort in 1990, 500 core members. It's interesting, her maybe initial naivete, not being tied down by how things are usually done, that turned out to be a huge strength. It let her see something others just dismissed.
Yeah, that conviction, going against the grain right from the start, that's a big lesson itself. But okay, having the idea is one thing. Turning it into a real working organization, that must have been, monumental. What were some of those first big hurdles?
You're right, it was immense. Beyond just getting people interested, the actual programmatic challenges were huge. Think about it. You take these bright, motivated grads, many with zero teaching background. How do you train them quickly? How do you support them so they don't just survive, but actually succeed in really tough school environments?
And keep them committed. Not burn out.
Exactly. Keep them there for the 2 years, not get totally disillusioned. That's a massive undertaking.
And leading it all was Wendy Kopp herself. She was, 21?
Just 21, yeah. Suddenly running this rapidly growing thing, staff, offices in different places.
I read she admitted she basically had no idea what I was doing on the management side at first.
She did. And that lack of initial focus on management, she said it really came back to haunt us.
It really shows, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A brilliant idea needs the structure, the operational side, to actually work.
Totally. That's super fast growth at such a young age. I mean, what a leadership challenge. She was learning on the job, essentially. And like she said, not prioritizing management early on created some serious growing pains.
Okay, so internal management challenges. What else?
Well, the money. Always the money.
Yes. Fundraising.
Constant pressure. The sources really emphasize how much time she spent, almost every waking moment, just trying to secure resources, companies, foundations, individuals. It's that less glamorous side of starting something, but it's absolutely vital.
A reality for so many entrepreneurs, social mission or not. And then on top of that, she was bumping up against the education system itself.
Oh, absolutely. Systemic challenges. For America, just by existing, it challenged the usual ways of doing things. Teacher training, how teachers get supported, licensing.
So resistance.
Yeah, resistance from parts of the established education world. And at the same time, they had to build trust, build alliances within the communities they were trying to serve. It's a complex political tightrope to walk. Advocating for your model while still respecting the local situation, that would have been a constant battle.
Wow. Okay, so you've got programmatic hurdles, management learning curve, constant fundraising, political resistance. What kept them going? What kept Kopp and that early team pushing through all of that?
It seems like a few things really intertwined. First, like we said, Kopp's absolute belief that these grads could make a difference even when everyone else doubted it. That core vision was key.
Yeah.
Second, the team she gathered, they were clearly drawn to the mission, really passionate about it. That shared purpose creates incredible energy and support. And then I think as they started actually placing teachers, as they saw the impact, even small impacts, it created this huge sense of responsibility. Once you see it working, even a little bit, it's much harder to just, give up. It fuels that perseverance.
I think that's vision, team, seeing the results. Powerful combination.
Yeah.
Now, Teach for America started in the U.S., but the vision grew, right? It went global with Teach for All. How did that shift happen?
Yeah, that was a major evolution. It stemmed from realizing that, hey, this issue of educational inequality, it's not just an American problem, it's everywhere. As Teach for America got more recognition, Wendy Kopp started connecting with other social entrepreneurs, people from all over the world. They were looking at the model and thinking, could we adapt this here, in India, in Lebanon, in China?
And Teach First in the UK was an early example, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Launched in 2003.
Exactly. That was a key early international adaptation. All this interest started bubbling up.
It's really striking, though. How could a model designed for the U.S. context resonate so much in such different places?
That's what was so interesting. What became clear was the shared core challenge. Yes, the specifics were different cultures, school systems, all that. But the fundamental problem, disadvantaged communities facing massive barriers to quality education. That looks surprisingly similar whether you were in Mumbai or the Bronx. So this shared challenge, plus the energy of these local entrepreneurs, that's what led to co-founding Teach for All in 2007. She did that with Brett Wigdortz, who was the CEO of Teach First in the UK.
And Teach for All wasn't set up like a global HQ dictating terms, was it? It sounds like it was more of a network.
Precisely. That was deliberate. It's a network of independent organizations. Each one is locally led, locally run. They share the same basic goal, the same mission, but they adapt the approach to fit their own country's needs, their own culture.
Local ownership makes sense for sustainability.
Absolutely critical. And that model clearly worked. The network grew fast. By 2014, you had 34 separate organizations. Now it's 60 partner organizations around the world.
That's incredible growth. But scaling globally like that, even as a network, must bring its own set of challenges. Yeah. How did Teach for All actually support all these different groups?
Well, their main strategy, their theory of change, if you like, wasn't just about the number of teachers placed. That was part of it, of course. But the deeper goal was about cultivating leaders, supporting people within each country who would stay involved in education long term and drive systemic change from the inside.
So like Teach for America's alumni focus, but scaled globally.
Exactly. The idea was if each national organization could produce enough influential leaders, alumni, who go into policy, school leadership, social innovation eventually, they could actually transform the whole system in their country.
Ambitious.
Very. So the support focused on helping them achieve that. Things like finding top talent willing to teach, figuring out the best training and support, and crucially, speeding up that development from teacher to leader.
So how did Teach for All, as the central network hub, actually do that? What kind of support did they provide?
It was multi-layered. They offered direct support, sharing best practices on recruitment, fundraising, teacher development, pooling knowledge from across the network.
Learning from each other.
Right. They facilitated connections, big global conferences, workshops, bringing people together, CEOs, staff, teachers, alumni, to share what's working, what's not. They also leveraged their global scale to build partnerships. Big names like Deutsche Post DHL, Credit Suisse, Salesforce. That brought resources and expertise to the local partners.
Access they might not get alone.
Exactly. And finally, they invested directly in leadership development, especially for the CEOs of the partner organizations, workshops, retreats, that kind of thing.
It sounds like a really smart ecosystem. Support and shared learning, but keeping that local control.
Yeah, and I remember reading that even Wendy Kopp had some initial worries, could a decentralized global network like this really work effectively? But the momentum they saw was apparently amazing. It really proved the power of combining that passionate, local entrepreneurial leadership with a strong global support system.
It's a great model for scaling impact, really. Empowering people on the ground, but giving them the tools and connections they need. So looking back at this whole journey, Princeton thesis to global network, what are some of the biggest lessons learned? What really stands out from the sources?
There are quite a few key takeaways. First, maybe the most obvious one. Bold ideas can come from unexpected places, even from people without tons of experience. Kopp's story is proof of that.
The thesis to Teach for America.
Yeah. Second, the power of transparency and results. They faced a lot of skepticism about efficacy, right? But by focusing on training, tracking results, showing alumni impact, they gradually won over a lot of critics.
Data matters.
It really does in building credibility. Another big one. Scalable models can tackle global problems, but only if they're adapted carefully to local needs. Teach for All is the perfect example. And related to that, the ripple effect of empowering individuals. Investing in people as leaders creates change way beyond their initial role.
The alumni network effect again.
Exactly. The sources also really stress needing to build relationships across the whole system around a child. Not just leaders, but parents, health workers, policymakers, everyone, collective leadership.
Taking that holistic view, very important.
Definitely. And there was this interesting tension too, balancing the big, ambitious theory of change with the messy reality of actually building something, the need for constant learning, trying small things, those little bets Kopp mentioned.
Learning as you go.
Right. And her views on consensus actually shifted, moving from trying to get everyone to agree towards empowering the people closest to the problem to make decisions, while still welcoming different viewpoints.
That's a subtle but important leadership lesson.
It is. And there were cautionary tales too, especially around measuring impact.
Oh, like what?
Like the risk of metrics becoming the only thing that matters and maybe missing the spirit of the work. The example given was setting a goal like 1.5 years of academic progress. Good intention, but could potentially lead teachers to focus too narrowly, almost mechanically.
Right. Unintended consequences of measurement.
Exactly, balancing the numbers with the nuance. And finally, just the recognition that systemic change takes a long time, which clashes sometimes with funding cycles that want quick, easily measured results.
The perennial challenge for social ventures.
For sure. But despite the challenges, the overwhelming feeling from the sources was inspiration. The work of these entrepreneurs across the network, the potential of parents getting involved, really powerful stuff.
It really does sound like an incredible journey, full of highs and lows and so much learning. So, based on everything she went through, what's the core advice Wendy Kopp offers to people who want to make a similar kind of difference, aspiring social entrepreneurs?
Well, fundamentally, her message is one of optimism, actually. It's this belief that these huge, complex problems like educational inequity, they seem intractable, but they are solvable.
That's a powerful starting point.
It really is. She emphasizes how crucial it is for each person to consciously decide where they put their time, their energy. Her encouragement is basically, look at these global inequities, recognize they can be solved, and figure out how you can contribute meaningfully. Find your way in.
That's a great call to action. Believing change is possible and finding your role. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the main things you think we should take away from Wendy Kopp's story with Teach for America and Teach for All?
I think it really highlights first the power of a really clear, deeply held vision. That was the starting point for everything. Then you absolutely see the need for incredible resilience, the challenges, which is constant from day one. Adaptability, too. The model evolved, the thinking evolved. They had to learn and adjust constantly. And maybe above all, it shows the power of collective action, empowering local leaders, building a network, recognizing that big change rarely happens alone. It's just a really compelling case study of passionate commitment meeting entrepreneurial drive to create something huge and lasting.
Absolutely. And maybe for you listening right now, it prompts a thought. Consider the impossible challenges you see around you in your work, your community, the world. What small bet, like Wendy Kopp made with her thesis, could you make today? What first step could you take that might, just might, contribute to a larger change, even if you can't see the whole path yet? Something to think about. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into Wendy Kopp's journey. We really encourage you to check out the sources if you want to learn more and think about how these lessons might resonate with you. Until our next deep dive, keep exploring, keep questioning.